Yeah. So today we are talking about accidental activism. Like, and let's start first, Jenny, by you and I have been crossing paths in Substack for what, a year,
Yeah, at
maybe?
least even yeah. How
And
long have you been here, Terry?
2.5 years.
I think we've been here for the same amount of time, and we were all, it's funny how Substack puts you in pods. Like
Yeah.
you have the same people and you interact with the same people all the time, and we were in the same pod. And I think what drew me to you at one point, and I hope I didn't misspeak the other day, did you had 5 publications at one
I
point,
do have
right?
5 publications. I'm crazy.
Yeah. But I love that, and the multi-passionate in me, I think that was my first, degree of being attracted and wanting to come and get to know you more. I was like, was your goal at the time, or do you still do it, where you publish on each pub every day of the week?
I publish once a week on two of them for sure.
Okay.
And the other ones, two of them are more like cohort programs that I offer. So those are more like a couple times a month. And then one of them is just for fun whenever I feel like it.
I love it. Yeah. So that was why I was like, oh, this gal and I need to be friends, because she's clearly multi-passionate and it's that was my whole life has looked like that. I've had 15 different projects going simultaneously, and trying to find the time to devote to all of them is a challenge. So I'm always intrigued by other people who are doing the same.
I just have to wave at Yolanda Stenton. I'm so glad you're here, Yolanda.
Hi, Yolanda.
Charla. Yeah, Yolanda is a client of mine from years and years ago. We've been really good friends for many years. So I haven't seen her on Substack before. So that's really cool.
Yay. Hi,
So,
everyone.
you said something earlier. I've got to get my brain to come back around to what you said, but it had something to do with you said Substack puts us into pods. And I think
Yeah.
I call them stacks. Like here we are in mindfulness or spirituality stack. And there's other stacks, like just like you would look in a library or a bookstore. And I just recently took the big shift and I went into my dashboard for Fierce Love and I saw that my categories were faith and spirituality and health and wellness. And
Mhm.
I had just reached number 58 in rising in health and wellness. And I'm like, but that's not what I write about anymore. As because I've become an accidental activist. So I changed my categories. Gulp, I might be going into a different pod because of that. I changed my categories to, I can't believe I did this, US politics and culture. And
Wow.
that's a big wow because 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, if you'd asked me, I'd be like, "I'm not political. Don't make me think politics, don't make me talk politics." Heck, I don't tell a whole lot of people this, but for a long time, I didn't vote because I just figured I'll deal with whatever is. And now I am, full on into politics, and
Yeah.
I'm a full on 100% activist. It's crazy.
I have to pause and say hi to Christy and to Susie, and thank you, Christy. I just got my hair done. Thank you.
I love Christy and Susie. Hi,
Yeah.
both of you.
Yeah. I'm with you, Terry. Cuz you actually inspired me to rebrand, and I was already leaning in that direction, just because it didn't fit anymore. Like the magic and mocktails, and I wasn't doing mocktail recipes anymore, and I'm it's not a thing I'm willing to say I've given up on forever, but for now this is the thing instead. So I sat there, I followed through on the rebrand, but then I sat there on the categories and I was like, I don't know what to pick. So I'm proud of you for making that big switch, because that is a big switch. Health and
We'll
wellness to
see what
US
it does.
politics. Like, wow.
All the research says that it's gonna take a couple weeks to take, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, so I it was so fun when we connected the other day to discover that we have such similar stories about how we ended up here. Can you talk a little bit about that journey from, losing your muse to ending up
Mhm.
here?
Mhm. I I've never really been one to lack for my writing, I have 5 publications. I have multi-passions. I have all kinds of things brewing, and every one of those publications has ideas and ideas and ideas. But in December, the beginning of December 2025, when ice came into Minnesota, and I live in Minnesota, I live a stone's throw from the state capitol. I could walk to the state capitol. Um, I I became someone I didn't recognize, and I remember telling my husband, "I don't know why I'm addicted to doom scrolling. I can't stop watching all of these videos of what's happening with ICE in my community." And part of it was that I was watching these videos being posted by people I know and
Mm.
watching people in the videos be attacked by ICE and their people I know.
Oh,
And it was just like, it just it was like I got the wind knocked out of me and I didn't know how to breathe. And for that whole month, I could not pay attention to anything else. And I was busy like finishing my creator retreat for the year, and I was busy thinking about how I'm gonna launch creator retreat for next year and how I'm gonna launch my abundant money mindset for next year. And those things are awesome cohort programs that are kind of on autopilot. So I knew how to do all that stuff, and I had a lot of the writing already pre-logged for that. So then the true writing, like The Hobbit and the Owl and my words or spells, and at that point, it was the Mindful Sense Mentor, I lost all desire. Like, I had no idea what to write about, and it hit the hardest on the day Renee Good died. Like, the day Renee Good died, I saw that video a half an hour after it happened, and I could not breathe for, like, a week. And as I was going through that, all I could think is everything I write is frivolous. I know it's
mm,
good writing, I know it's valuable because people have liked it up until this point, but it just felt so cheap compared to what I was witnessing in my
yeah.
community. It felt like this means nothing compared to what's going on out there. And after, like, 2 weeks of that and then my own encounter with ICE, I was like, "I can't not do something about this." You know, I froze for a week or 2, and then it was like, I have to, like, force this boulder to move, and once I pushed myself, it was a boulder rolling down a very big hill, and I just had to keep running with it, you know?
Mhm.
And it was the day at 2 days after Alex Preddy died that I started writing good news lists. And those good news lists were my way of, like, if I keep on this doom scrolling path, I'm gonna go deep into depression really fast, and I'm gonna go into stagnation and blah, 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 blah. So I have to do what I teach, and what I teach is pay attention to the positive because it's out there. And so I looked for the helpers, and I just started writing about the helpers, and it's
Mhm.
taken off from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I relate so much to the "this feels frivolous." And for me, it's a little bit different. I, at the beginning of the year, decided I would shift away from my nonfiction self-development work to fiction and personal essays more as a means to supplement, like, continue to get eyes on my writing while I really, like, got serious about writing my novel. I carved out the space for it. I let go of my other projects that were serving as distractions, and I was like, "Here we go, let's do this." And January rolled around, and the Muse had left the building. There was nothing, and I mean, I have a list. I have a running list of stories to write about that, personal essays, and I have all these fiction ideas, and I couldn't. It's I know that it's part of our job to show up even when we don't feel inspired, but, like, I just from the depths of my soul, there was nothing there. And I was actually at a business retreat the weekend that Alex Preddy died, and I canceled all of the events and just sat in my hotel room and cried. And that was when I was like, everything I'm writing feels so pointless and so cheap compared to what is going on right now. And I didn't want to let politics run my life. I didn't want to just doom scroll. I don't want to just think about it all the time. But when I realized that I hadn't had a muse for months and months, I was like, maybe this is the reason why. And what had been keeping me up at night, I've been a practicing witch for years now, was the idea that I could be doing justice magic around what is going on. And I kept waiting for people who I consider more expert than me here on Substack. They would say things like, I want to, would anybody be interested in a spell to protect the people of Minnesota? And I would be like, yes, 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 I'm here. Write it. Show me where to be, what to, I'll show up with my pitchfork. What do you need? And then like nothing would happen. And it was just in the back of my head spinning around and no one else was doing it. And finally I was like, fuck it. I listened to Jennie, which is my astrology podcast. And she said that thing that you've been thinking about doing that won't leave you alone, you have to do it. So I did it. And that post went viral. And that, I guess, is what you saw happen too, that your good news was just what people needed right now.
Yep. Yep. And it was that stagnation. There's this contraction that happens before the expansion. And both of us, what I'm relating to in this is that we both went through this extreme contraction. And somewhere out of that contraction, it's like the seed burst open. And I'm really excited, Jenny. And part of what I've been excited about this live all along is to hear some of the spells that you have been called to share. And how, like, for me, I'm just writing the good news. But for you, you're actually taking some action and saying, hey, people, here's what you can do. And I'm doing some of that. I'm saying follow Minnesota's lead, and here's the lead in my good news. But it's like you take it to this personal level of here's what you can do in your heart and your soul to activate some white magic to go against a lot of this black magic that's happening. And I really do believe, and I don't know how many of you listeners out there know this about me because I don't advertise it really heavily and largely, but I am an initiated elder in a shamanic tribe in the African Dagara tradition. And so I'm very well versed in not witchcraft per se, but shamanic wisdoms. And my teacher taught me a lot about black magic and how it works and how to avoid it and how to protect myself from it, but not how to do it, obviously. And part of that is that you have to activate a lot of white magic. And that's what I see you doing. So I want to know, like, what was one of those first spells where you're like, I have to give this to everybody because no one else is talking about it? And how is it coming back for you? How are people responding?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to do, I have so many friends who are like you and I feel like they are accidental activists. They weren't involved before, maybe they voted, maybe they didn't, but they never felt their hearts breaking every day and like they needed to do more than marching, than the things we're doing, than the donating to the causes and all of that stuff. Keep doing all of that. But some of them they don't have a spiritual practice. They don't say that they are witches or they consider themselves Christians. So does this go against, you know, being a Christian? And what I wanted to create was something that proves that no, anyone can participate. You can be an atheist. You can have no spiritual tradition whatsoever, and you can still be a part of this because collective intention towards a goal works. There's like scientific evidence of this. So I wanted to start with something super easy. In the very first post in this series, my series is called Weapons of Mass Resistance. Is about there's a psalm and it is just a prayer. So if you are Christian, this is a very easy way to dip your toe in, to just recite this prayer. I said during a waning moon, but if you are feeling inspired or you are feeling the rage right now, you can do it right now. You can do it every single day for the duration of this administration. And that is just evidence. It's considered a send away prayer, like sending your enemies away in hoodoo tradition. So it's just an easy way to get started. So I'm thinking I'd like a weekly Teri
Thank
Jenny.
you, Susie.
Yay! I love this idea. I mean, we have so many ideas percolating, so maybe this will be one of them. But I really liked the idea of a prayer as an easy way to start. And so the the first binding spell that we did that came after that is just a karmic. It's consider it like a karmic boomerang. And it's essentially anything that Donald Trump puts out into the world, any bad energy that he sends towards the group will circle back onto him. And it's as simple as printing up a photo of him where the eyes show and taping it against the mirror photo side down. So you just see the back, the blank side of the photo, and saying some words over it. It is super simple. It doesn't require special ingredients. It doesn't require protection magic on your side because you're not sending bad energy towards anyone. You are letting him do the work against himself. And I just love that. And I want everyone to feel like they're in a space where they're protected, no matter which intention we happen to be working at any given moment. And my favorite one, and I intentionally set it up so it would come out this week, also because of May Day, and also because that's the full moon, and all of the astrological bodies are in alignment supporting us. But I also wanted to do it this week because I was talking to you, is a world peace spell. And so if you guys want to participate in that, we're doing it on Friday. It requires bay leaves and a lighter and an ink pen. Everyone can get those things right now, probably in your kitchen. And there's so much good energy working in our favor on Friday. And I would love to have all of you guys participate if that's something you would be into.
And Friday is May Day, and as part of May Day, there's a collective action within the whole country for a general strike. No work, no school, no shopping, and cancel all your corporate subscriptions type things. And put your money towards immigrant and small independent businesses and small independent journalists and so forth. So that's perfect timing as well. I want to circle back to all three of those spells and kind of say something about each one that you offered. The first one being what you said about collective intention. And you and I talked about this privately. I read a book in the 1980s, and it's not a great book. It's not, but it highlights a specific scientific study that really proves the power of collective intention. And it's called The 100th Monkey. And there was this study of monkeys on this small island. The scientists taught one monkey how to wash its fruit. And that monkey taught other monkeys how to wash their fruit. And around the time that the 100th monkey started washing its fruit, a neighboring island that had absolutely no cross-pollination between the monkeys, those monkeys started washing their fruit. And so that's the power of the collective unconscious. And that's how, like, some people get the same idea at the same time without ever talking to each other. And I've experienced that in terms of this accidental activism. If you guys aren't following him already, go follow Sean Snow on Substack. He started writing on Substack, and he started writing on Facebook and then switched over also to Substack the same day I did. And his stories are almost, some days we write the exact same story in our own different languages without ever talking to each other. Today, I posted my good news list about Minnesota fraud, and he wrote a big, long article giving much more specific detail about Minnesota fraud. That's collective intention. Mm-hmm. And when you have a conscious, pointed collective intention, like saying that Psalms prayer with a larger group of people, that just overwhelms the collective energy of the world. And I want to point out, when we were dealing with ICE here in Minnesota, I kept reminding myself, there are 3,000 of them and there are 300,000 of us. Yes, we had 75,000 show up for our general strike back in January, but those 75,000 showed up in minus 30-degree weather. How many people couldn't show up? Probably 3 for every one that did show up. So there's at least 300,000 of us in this. It's phenomenal, the power of that collective intention. So then moving to your second prayer, your second spell, the one where you put Donald Trump's picture facing the mirror. And that's the karmic retribution or the karmic boomerang. I think one of the things my husband and I were talking about in getting ready for you and I to talk, he was asking me, he's like, what's the difference between black magic and white magic? And I said, black magic has an intention put on other people. And that's not healthy and that's not right. Unless it's a general, I pray for the highest good of someone else, to put an intention and want something to happen to someone else or to control the outcome that involve other people, that turns into black magic. And there's always karmic retribution.
Uh-huh.
There's always a karmic response. Whereas white magic is where you want to change or churn or do something for your own internal process. At least this is my definitions between black magic and white magic. We can control ourselves. We cannot control others. Yes. And so by putting that, the way I see that spell of putting his picture, I don't like to say his name.
Yeah.
Put his picture on a mirror facing the mirror. That's saying to me that I'm going to trust karma to do what karma does. Yeah. And that takes me out of the circumstance, and it stops me from getting so upset and wanting the justice and fighting and being angry and being rageful and pointing all of my energy towards the bad stuff going on. And I can then trust, okay, universe, God, Mother Earth, Spirit, Giggle Bumps as I call her, she's going to do what karma's meant to do. And that spell helped by me seeing the back of his picture. That helps me turn away from that negative energy, you know? So I'm really excited to see what happens here on May Day with your bay leaf and was it a candle? A bay leaf?
You basically write a wish on a bay leaf, and you can do that 1 time or 100 times, and then you burn each one. So you just need a fireproof vessel, or if you have an outside fire pit, you can just burn it and then drop it into the fire pit. You can use a soup pot. Obviously practice fire safety, but otherwise I feel like this is a pretty accessible thing that anyone can do. The piece I wrote on it this week lists a bunch of examples and gives a little bit of an overview of the 3 places we're specifically targeting for peace. Obviously the Ukraine and Gaza and Iran, because we can't count on the leaders in those regions to do the right thing. So we have to do it for ourselves.
Exactly. And that's, again, that collective intention of scattering peace and joy and love and the true integrity of humanity out into the world.
Yeah.
And so anything else is karmic retribution. Let it be.
Yeah. And what's beautiful about this, I'm with you. I've only ever practiced white magic. Obviously, I've done a lot of research into gray and dark magic to prepare for this series, but I don't like the idea of doing magic that compels someone else to, you can do magic for yourself. That's what I believe magic is, to improve my own life. Or if someone wants me to help them with a healthcare issue, but they have to ask me for that before I will just do it, even if I think it's out of the kindness of my own heart. That is the proper way to approach doing magic. The good news is this administration has given us so much energy that we can work with karmically that is not us putting any bad, ill intentions out into the world. It is just letting them sort of set themselves on fire.
I've been writing.
So I'm just learning how to use that.
I've been playing with that concept so much in my head that what's going on here is that I really think that this administration and so many of the people caught up in, and not just this administration in America, but the leaders in the world, they're caught up in a power addiction. That power, which is about controlling another, which is about black magic, is they're addicted to that power, that control, that I'm better than you, I know better than you, let me control things. And it's turned into an addiction. Well, if you look at any kind of addiction, alcohol, drugs, whatever, sex, whatever, it builds up a tolerance. And the further it builds up the tolerance, the more you need of something. And the more you need and crave. Oh, my phone's ringing. Stop. Ring, like, this is important, people, listen. The more you need and crave and more you need and crave, the less you can actually access that power and that control, then eventually it's going to turn in on itself. And this energy is going to self-destruct. It
Yeah,
can't not. When you look at what happens with any addict who doesn't turn away from the addiction and doesn't face it, they end up self-destructing. And so that just self-destruction is in process right now. And so we, as the other side of that, for every contraction, there's an expansion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. We need to amplify that reaction, that expansion, and break open the world to what I call fierce love, which is what my publication rebranded to be. I'm no longer talking just about mindfulness and sensitivities. I'm talking about the greatest force of all power, and power being empowerment, not power being control.
exactly.
And that empowerment is loving so fiercely that we're all part of the oneness.
Yeah, the subtitle of my post this week is "We have righteous rage, but we also have fierce love," and that's an homage to you. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, because
Thank
I
you,
just
Jenny.
knew that I was gonna get a chance to speak to your audience today, and they're following you because of fierce love, and I was like, "That's why this is such perfect timing with May Day, with the full moon in Scorpio, with Beltane is May 1st too. All of those things, that's all the energy. And all we're really doing here is like the ground is starting to rumble. The house of cards is starting to fall. We're just pushing it along, making it happen a little bit more quickly. It's almost as if they don't need our help, but we're going to help anyway.
And as that falls, it's it's creating a whole new energy. And I'm just so curious and I'm so excited about what that can be. And living here in Minnesota, I'm witnessing it. Like the moment that broke me open was watching the clergy and the faith leadership get arrested
Oh
at
my
a
God.
at a singing resistance event. Like watching these elders, these clergy elders in -30-degree weather, kneeling on hard concrete, singing Amazing Grace, one by one get arrested. The contrast of the pain that we're all feeling and that deep, fierce, intense love that evoked out of them. And I say evoked because voke is the sound of the voice.
Mm,
It's so profound. It is so profound and so beautiful. And that cracked me open. And I'm seeing that as this power control is falling, the power empowerment is rising up out of the
mm,
ashes of that. So that's why that ritual that you're offering for Friday of burning the bay leaf is let something rise up. Let the source of what it is be burned so that what the smoke becomes and the ash becomes is something even more beautiful.
mhm. And because I'm sort of insufferable in this way, I can find a silver lining in everything. And I truly believe that the silver lining of him coming into power and getting elected a second time was to shine a light on all of the things that have been broken, and that people like you and I with huge hearts who really care were successfully ignoring and going about our lives and our day to day and not paying any attention to. And now it is right in front of our face, and this is what the new world that we're creating is going to have to address, is all of these things that were broken. And I had someone tell me recently, like, no one's ever going to be held accountable. There's not going to be any, actual like people getting sent to jail. And I just, you lose 100% of the fights that you don't fight. So I'm going to fight this one. I'm going to build something better in its place.
I'm going to say something controversial here, and I might piss off a lot of people. I agree with those people to some degree. I agree that we cannot, after what I've witnessed in Minnesota, it's going to be impossible to get justice for every single person that was harmed here. And to reach a point where every person who did the wrong is going to actually pay for their wrongs on a practical, judicial, governmental level. However, the picture on the mirror, the karmic retribution is already in place. And I think on some degree, if we get too caught up in fighting too hard for justice and looking too much at what went wrong, we have to make them pay, then we get so caught up in the anger and the rage that we can't transmute that anger and rage into the fierce love. And it keeps us too stuck in the past of what happened rather than walking forward into what could be as a result of it. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be fighting that fight. I totally think we need to fight that fight because as part of fighting that fight is building the new order and
Yeah.
the new earth and the new energy. And at some point, we need to let go of the desire to make them pay. And when we let go of the desire to make them pay, that's when forgiveness takes over. And forgiving doesn't mean what you did was okay. Forgiving means I'm putting this away so that I can grow into something better, you know?
Mhm.
And it might take a while for the world to get to this kind of consciousness and this kind of level, but I really believe that's where we need to go eventually, is to let karma do what karma does. And instead of us focusing so much on what they done wrong to us, we turn to each other and we focus on the love that we have for each other and we grow that. And that's one of the greatest things that Minnesota did and is still doing to this day is they kept coming at us and we resisted, but we didn't fight back. We did not necessarily, I mean, we threw dildos at them, but we weren't attacking them. We weren't tackling them to the ground. We weren't trying to cause violence and harm on them. I like what Melissa Baxter just wrote, punishment doesn't lead to improvement. We got to let the karma do what karma does, and we turn to each other and we grow that improvement over
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
And right now, we do have to fight that fight because the fight is the resistance of stopping it from continuing to happen. We
Yeah,
need to
I think
create those
there's
boundaries.
splitting the difference that needs to occur. I'm
Yeah,
with you that if we spend all of our time there, we are solely looking backward and we need to be looking forward too. And so I am in agreement with you, but I think that there is an absolute reason for ensuring that as many people as we can get to be held accountable, we need to do so that things like this don't continue, especially in light of all of the stuff that has come out lately, unrelated to politics, about sexual predation. I mean, I really like,
yeah.
someone will
We
be
need to
held
stop
accountable.
it from happening.
Yeah,
And in stopping it from happening, we need to turn to each other and love on the healing process of it. And
exactly.
first, we
That's the
need to
only
stop it
way
from happening.
that's the only way for people who are victims to, think, heal is through fierce love. So, absolutely, both of these things need to be sort of happening concurrently.
I just recently wrote on, I think it was on Words or Spells, the difference between protest and resistance. And protest is really like about that fighting and testing and arguing, whereas resistance is about holding up a boundary. And
Mhm,
I've seen this in Minnesota that people are very actively choosing the word resist rather than the word protest because we are holding that boundary of you can't keep doing this. We're not going to fight back at you. We just want to stop what's happening as it
mhm.
is.
Yeah, yeah. It's important, I think, to look at that difference and see sort of where you fall on the spectrum. I myself have become really obsessed with nonviolent communication. I think that has a role to play here, especially in moving forward with fierce love, because I really would like to. I think that I have the power. I'm one of the people that could be instrumental in reaching across the aisle and finding common ground where we have somehow lost our way in that regard. So I also really want to write a piece about anyone who might be struggling right now with people in their lives who either A, are on the other side of the aisle, and maybe those are family members and you've been dealing with it already for 10 years now, but people who aren't as interested in being activists or in protesting or in showing up in this way, who you might have some feelings about that. I know that I do with some of my friends. I'm like, why don't you care?
Mhm.
And so even just learning how to move through those feelings and letting other people be who they are and loving them anyway is something that I'm even sort of figuring out how I feel about it. And I definitely will be writing about it in the near future because I feel like other people might need that as well.
I love that. I love that because that is, again, more white magic of how to work with your own internal feelings so that you show up more in fierce love towards everyone else on the planet. And that's
Mhm.
really what we need right now is more and more and more people to show up with that fierce love of I love no matter what. And how do we reach across the aisle, have those hard conversations, and find that common ground and come back to a place of we're all humans with human emotions and human feelings and living on the same planet that we need to protect.
Yeah, that's the only way we rebuild. We were not rebuilding just us, just the liberals over here doing our little rebuild. It's all of us. So we have to know how to talk to each other. And we've completely forgotten how to do that. So I hope that
Yeah.
I can in some way help facilitate that a little bit more.
I think part of how that happens, well, first of all, I want to say this. All of you who are on here who are following me, please go follow Jenny
Thank you.
and
And
read
likewise,
all of
the
her stuff.
same.
I imagine we'll be collaborating on co-posts and whatever in the future and probably do a few more of these, or if not like someone's like Susie suggested, more of a regular. Um, and how we intersect. Like Jenny is writing about the ritual, the magic, what you can do in the white magic and the way you can process this stuff through yourself. And the way I'm writing about it is by telling the stories. And I really think like what you were saying about communication is nonviolent communication comes through stories. I mean, just look at how Jesus spoke. He spoke entirely in parables. Every lesson he taught was a story. And so I am writing that. I have sat down face to face, heart to heart, soul to soul with 12 different women in Minnesota who are instrumental in the activist action of what's going on here. And I am now in the process of writing their stories.
Mm.
And writing their stories not in the intent to preach at you, this is what you should be doing, but more in the intent of here's a parable, here's an example, here is a tiny little moment in time that this woman chose to respond in fierce love. You know, this woman standing in front of an ICE agent, toe to toe, their breath is mingling in the bitter cold Minnesota air, and you can see his breath and her breath merge. And she says to him, "You don't have to do this. You can change your mind." And he starts crying. Like, those are the stories that the world needs to hear to see that it's possible for people to connect on that level. And she's like the woman's probably like 60 something and he's probably 30 something, completely different worlds, yet they blended in that moment. And so, woman, WOMN, take out the E so that we don't deal with any of that sexual predator stuff going on. Woman, the Woman Project is me telling the stories of women in Minnesota and how we are showing up from that moment of fierce love in our hearts and hoping that those stories can spread across the world and people can be touched by them in the ways that teachers across the time, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, all of those great spiritual teachers taught through story. And those stories are of real people doing real things that are expressions of real love.
And don't read those stories of Terry's on an airplane if you're embarrassed by public sobbing. Ask me how I know.
Did you do that?
I
Oh my
he,
god. Which story
that
did you
one
read?
that one about her saying you don't have to do this and his eyes filling with tears and I I reposted it. I restacked it and said I'm not crying, you're crying.
You
I'm
were
a
on
big
an
old
airplane?
softie and I cry all the time at everything, but it was especially embarrassing being in a center seat on an airplane. So
Well,
you
maybe
have been
your
warned.
tears reverberated into the people in the airplane and they felt your emotion and it touched people that way.
Absolutely. I believe that. Yeah, and it's okay. I mean, it was beautiful tears. It was tears of joy. It was a reminder that we are all connected, even though right now it is so easy to feel like there's so much divisiveness and we are totally separated by this chasm between us. That's why what you're doing is so important.
Yeah. What we are doing is so important.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's pick your lane. Every single activist needs to find what their skill is. Yours is white magic. Mine is writing stories and writing those true stories with deep emotions so that people can feel that fierce love and that it overcomes them so that they express that kind of love the rest of the day in their
Yeah.
everyday communities.
And that
So,
is what I'm glad you brought that back, because I think if any of you are kind of in that same boat where you're like, I don't know where my muse went, writing about anything else just sort of feels, silly right now, that maybe, just maybe, you are meant to use your writing talents for something along these lines. Like if this feels like, oh, maybe I've had stuff to say and I've just withheld actually just hitting the publish button, I recommend that you do, because I think that, and then this doesn't have to be forever. I mean, I will probably always be an activist, but I don't think I'm going to write about US politics forever.
no,
So
but
many
I'm
other
going to
things I
write
want to do.
stories forever.
Yeah. But I do think that is an important piece of this conversation too, is if you feel like you haven't had anything to say, maybe it's that you're meant to be saying something a little bit different right now. And I encourage you to do that
Yeah.
if you're feeling called.
I want to point out the Rebel Crone. I love you. She shows up in almost all my comments everywhere. I love you, Rebel Crone. And of course, I would love to show up into your Sunday morning coffee with the Crone. Please DM me and we'll figure that out. That would be really, really fun. And Sunday mornings are easy for me.
Yay. I'm glad you've been staying on top of the comments, because I have
Some
not.
of them. I haven't caught
Yeah.
all of them.
I
But Alicia
I
Joyful, it's great to
apologize.
see you.
I apologize if we haven't responded to you. It's that there a lot of things are happening. So thank you though for all being here and commenting.
So we said we were going to try to keep this at 45 minutes and we're coming up on that, but I do want to offer if anyone has any questions in the chat, throw it out if you want to
Sure.
ask us anything. Otherwise, we will wrap up in the next couple minutes unless someone has a question that can spark a new conversation.
This is so nice to have so many people here. You guys are the best with the hearts, man. So many hearts. I feel
Yes,
so much love right now.
I do too. I do too. And yes, Christy, I'm glad you could have a slow work day so you could pop in.
Time limits on lives. It's true. Christy and I went for a full hour, and probably could have gone for 3 more. So, all
Well, I'm
right.
not seeing any questions.
No.
So, but what I did see that is that people want this again. So maybe we can come up with a targeted topic beyond the general everyday activism, accidental activism, and come up with another topic and see each other again. And it will probably be some sort of regular collaboration because we have a lot of work to do, don't we?
Yeah, I've every time I talk to you, it's just full body chills, which just tells me that I am on the right path and this is what we should be doing. And I would love to have more conversations along these lines. Definitely.
It's the feeling is mutual. I feel ditto. And I'm so appreciative of all of you that show up, that keep showing up and keep commenting on us because I can't tell you how important comments are for writers. Like,
Yeah.
especially in Substack world, when you start in on it and you live in in the void for so long, it really, really matters that we get your love and your comments that keeps us going. So thank you so much for being here. The zillion hearts showing up, the Susie Rollins and
Yeah.
all of your emojis.
Oh my God, I love you guys
I love you. I
so
love
much.
you. I love you.
This was
And
fabulous. Thank
this
you.
was fabulous. Jenny, you and I will talk and we'll find another time for the next one.
Sounds great. I love you guys. Have a fabulous day.
Bye,
Mwah.
everyone.
Bye.